Hello.
Hi, Finley Carraraway.
How's it going over there?
Good. How are you doing, man? Writer from Australia. How is the Down Under right now?
Well, it's the middle of summer and the bushfires have come early.
What is that? That is a normal occurrence over there, correct? But it's just out of control right now.
Oh, yeah, we get bushfires every year, but this year has been just unbelievably bad. It's come a bit earlier than normal, and yeah, it's just extraordinary. With a bigger area has burnt down in the bush in Australia than what happened in the Amazon.
Wow, I was going to ask how much of the country it covers.
What is a bushfire?
It's just so hot and dry that the fires start and they don't go out.
Just in any of their... You don't have any forests in Australia. What is lighting on fire?
The bush. It's just literally like bush, right?
Brush.
Like what you guys get in California with the wildfires.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how are you guys handling that? Like, what are they doing? Do they control fire, or how do they combat that?
Oh yeah, we've got all the same usual kind of things like controlled burns and back burns and etc. Firefighters are out there constantly doing the work, but this has been so bad that it's overwhelming.
Yeah. I just saw today Elton John donated like $1 million just towards it, just to try to get it under control.
Lizzo is touring here at the moment, and she actually has put a tour on hold, and she's been literally at stands handing out food and helping people out and stuff. So
wow,
that's awesome.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, no, I did not know that. I know. I don't know about. I don't think he's around now, but Tony Abbott. He was a couple prime ministers ago, was he?
Yeah.
He fascinated me.
Is he not around anymore? Like,
no,
dead?
He's just not prime minister anymore. He's like, he was voted out.
Yeah,
I like Tony.
He's a long-time volunteer firefighter, and he's been out on the front line through all of this. But he actually specifically asked to have no press coverage because he just wants to get on with helping the communities.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Are you a fan of the Tony Abbott?
The tone?
Oh God, no.
I didn't think so.
I heard a lot of negative things.
We watched a couple videos and we were like, wow, he's Trump. He's Trump. For Australia.
Yeah. I can't imagine Trump out there fighting fires, though.
Yeah, at least Tony has some balls.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, he wouldn't. Trump wouldn't. His little coif of hair would be on fire. Yeah. I don't know.
It just goes to show that bad men can do good things sometimes.
They're making their penance. Finley, how long have you been a writer for?
Look, I suppose if you ask that of any writer, you're going to get the stock standard answer, which is, as long as I can remember.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because I think it's kind of one of those things that's just in you. But I suppose I have done things a bit more professionally in more recent years. And look, I have a bit of a background in, I suppose you'd call it professional writing, a bit of copywriting and editing and that sort of stuff. So that's where a lot of my actual writing happens. And it's only been in recent years that I've sort of tried my hand at more standard fiction.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what do you write about mostly?
Well, I mean, the things I'm interested in are, I have to be honest. I grew up, loving things like spy novels and James Bond, and reading books by Frederick Forsyth and Tom Clancy and things like that. And it's pretty hard to, if that's what you've done a lot of reading of, it's pretty hard not to let that creep in.
Yeah. What have you had the best luck writing?
Look, I'm relatively new to the whole thing, so I think it's not a best luck. I think it's more a case of what you feel like you can start and take to a conclusion.
How do you do that? Like, how do you keep that momentum? Like, sometimes when I write, I do a weekly thing for this. It's just some dark comedy skit I do. But sometimes the ideas come so fast. Like, even if I take a break, I have to take, like, paper and pen with me. Because it just comes so fast and it just flows in. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I just sit there for, like, 20 minutes. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this.
Yeah, I find, I think I was talking to someone the other day about the whole difference between people who fly by the seat of their pants and people who, plan out what they're going to write. And I find that, I understand where you're coming from with that, because it's easy to get yourself in a situation where you have a whole lot of ideas, but no obvious roadmap to the conclusion.
Yeah.
I'm interested in kind of that theory because, like, okay, so one of the series that I had been obsessed with for a while was Mr. Robot, and they just, like, ended that series, and that guy, his name's Sam Esmail, and he had said from the very beginning, he did 4 seasons, he said from the very beginning, I know what the ending is, this ending is what it's going to be. But then there's other guys like Vince Gillian, is that the guy's name that wrote Breaking Bad, where he was like, I kind of like know where it's going to end, but don't really know where it's going to end, and it's just going to like eventually go that way.
See, I'd have to know. Like, I do in my thing, like I just mentioned, I know how it's going to end. I think I would have to. I think I would have to know that ending. Like,
Stephen King, I know, is very well known for just like kind of going with the flow, I guess. Like, he's just writing things, and where it goes, he doesn't really know. Like, so it's hard to determine like what's the better strategy in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to know where I'm headed with, I like to know what I'm aiming for. So I like a bit of planning. I like to think of, what are the major points I want to hit along the way. But at the same time, I have a drawer full of what you might call nice ideas. And I have a sort of bad habit of creating starts to things and then not really working out where it's going to go. I mean, I actually do love great starts to novels. I think that, that first opening sentence can be the thing that hooks people in for the whole book, and it also tells you that you're in the hands of a good writer if you've got something that captures your interest straight away. I mean, some of the best, most famous authors ever are famous for that, notably Jane Austen. So.
That's got to be a hard thing to do. I would like if, that the pressure of that opening would be a lot.
Yeah, well, if you, the thing is, if you look at it from a sales point of view, I mean, there's that whole thing that the idea of the first sentence is to get the person to read the second sentence, and the idea of the second to get to read the third, etc. And in a way, a novel or a short story or anything has to do exactly the same thing, or a movie for that matter.
Yeah. And do you do a lot of research when you do your writings?
Not I mean, I'll research specific things, to get terminology right, or or especially if I'm thinking about places, I'll go into maps and things and make sure that I'm describing a left turn that is in fact a left turn. I'll do things like that, but I won't necessarily do a huge amount of research. I mean, because I don't really write science fiction, and I don't write historical type things. So in the end, I think it's more important that there's internal consistency, internal truth to a story than there is external.
Cool. And do you base any of your characters off of people in real life?
Yeah, well, I suppose you have to, don't you? I mean, like when you're creating someone, you basically, the only way you can is based on people you've met yourself, and I suppose also other characters that you've seen in movies or read in books. I mean, it's got to come from somewhere, right?
Exactly. I always too, when I'm at my day job, I keep paper and pen on me just in case. Sometimes those ideas come to you at any time, and you just have to get them down. How
good is having an iPhone or a smartphone in general?
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Because I often pull that out with Google Docs and just jot something down. Or even if I'm driving in the car now, I can actually do the whole voice dictation thing. And
that's
even though
an
that
idea.
can come out absolutely rubbish sometimes. But at least you get the idea down.
I usually just open Messenger and I'll open a message to Slim and I'll just type shit. Like I'll just type out like that, but I won't send it. Sometimes I will send it and I'm like, whoops, I didn't mean to send that. But yeah, usually I just type it in there so it's there and I know where to get it.
You've always got the idea to fall back. It's like, guys, it was just an idea I had. You know, if you're saying bad. So I'm working on my next story.
It's funny you say the voice thing because I had a recent incident. I'm a manager in a company.
He's a drunk.
I am a drunk manager in a company, and I had been called upon for a security issue.
Ooh.
And the security officer and said, "Oh, well, you gotta write a witness report," and I write this super like detailed report, and she's like, "You did just watch me like just speak everything into my phone, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm just gonna write it." Like she's like, "You could just like talk and it will write it for you," and I'm like, nah, I'm too old for that shit.
Yeah, no, I worked out how to do it, and it changed my life.
I'm like, and as she said that, like, oh, you could just like speak it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep writing.
Yeah. It actually gets to the point where you think, God, what on earth am I doing with a keyboard anymore? And then and then what happens is you get excited and you put in, you get Google Doc and say, I'm going to dictate this shit. And you start doing that, and then you read how it actually comes out. And, of course, there's no full stops, no commas. It gets words wrong, and you read it back and you go, surely I didn't write that. And
yeah, that's what when you first mentioned it, I was thinking like just it getting words wrong would be the biggest problem.
Yeah, and it gets them in like quite hilariously wrong sometimes, and so the whole piece just makes no sense at all.
You could have a whole like book of outtakes. That would be a great thing. Like fucking outtakes from that.
So someone should read something like, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice into Google Docs and just see what it actually comes out as.
That sounds like a podcast.
It does.
I like that, Finley. Finley, what is the Middlevale Mystery?
Okay, the Middlevale Mystery is a sort of a long short story. It's about 8,000 or 10,000 words, so certainly not a novella and not really a short story, but it actually started off its life as a serial, a la sort of 19th century style in a regional newspaper here in Victoria, Australia. And so I was writing kind of like an episode every month for about 8 months. And so what's out now on Amazon Kindle is basically that put together, all of the episodes put together. But originally it was, I was putting out 1,000 words a month to the editor of that publication, and which was an interesting exercise in itself. And it's basically it's not a murder mystery. It's more of a mystery of a missing prize animal that a farmer had, which probably sounds more intriguing than it is, but it was because I was writing to a rural audience, but I also figured that the thing might be on coffee tables and thought maybe murder was a bit harsh, and so it was sort of like Agatha Christie meets Dr. Dolittle.
I hope the missing prize animal is just like a squirrel.
I was thinking of balls.
Bigger than a squirrel.
Or like a beta fish. My beta fish has gone missing.
My beta fish gone.
Actually, no, I want to bring up, we're going to interrupt this interview real quick. So you mentioned Dr. Dolittle, and I keep seeing these trailers for a new Dr. Dolittle, and he's played by Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Iron
Man. It's like it's Iron Man, and it's like an old-fashioned Dr. Dolittle, like he's fighting with tigers and shit. And I'm like, this seems interesting, but
so Slim's gonna see it, is what we're saying.
Eddie Murphy is the Dr. Dolittle that I know.
It's funny, isn't it? There's these three actors who you just kind of know that you're going to get for all those movies, and it's like, Eddie Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and it used to be Robin Williams.
Was Robin Williams a Dr. Dolittle?
Well, he would be the sort of
He
person you would
be.
have gone to.
Yeah, now he's a chandelier, but back then he would have been a doctor.
Just a genie in a lamp. You gotta rub that lamp to bring him back.
Don't rub the lamp. Don't rub the lamp, guys. Don't go down that road. Finley, before Slim cut you off with Doolittle-isms, I was gonna ask if you could read a segment from the Middlevale Mystery for us, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I could do that. What I was thinking, I could just read from the start for the first couple hundred words, and that way people can get excited, and if they want to read on, they can go onto Amazon and buy it.
Awesome. Whenever you are ready, my friend.
Okay, starting from the top. The Middlevale Mystery by Finley Carraraway. Have you ever noticed that people act differently when they know they're being watched? Everyone wants to make the right impression. Even your pet cat will probably look a little sheepish if caught checking out your budgerigar. Jim Stevens, you could say, had not figured this out. This is a problem because he is a photographer, and worse, a press photographer. He always misses the real story by spoiling the shot at the crucial moment. Oh, how he dreamed of politics or crime, a war photographer on the front line, breaking the exclusive stories. Even getting sneaky shots of celebrities would have worked. His editors, however, knew him better than he does himself, and they wisely steered him to assignments he really couldn't get wrong, like sports. Jim gets by, though. He really is skilled at photography. He lives a simple life in a little one-bedroom flat in St Kilda, which his auntie passed on to him when she died, which really upset Jim, but that's a different story. His interior decoration is much like his career, serviceable, unremarkable, and shabby around the edges. He has a few friends who think he's a bit strange, and he sees them from time to time, but it must be said that Jim is reclusive and lonely in his existence. No one can remember the last time he had a girlfriend. In fact, Melissa, his friend and workmate, actually snorted when Josephine asked about him. Suffice to say, Josephine did not get her man. Poor Jim Stevens. What a tragic man. His real problem, though, is that things are about to get even worse. He's been called into his editor's office. Bruce Jones wants a little word, and the news is not good. Well, there you go.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah, you had me. I do want to know the next part. I do want to know what the next part was. That's
very
awesome.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm really drunk right now, but definitely getting some Twilight Zone notes from that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No,
this
is
one's
amazing.
definitely based in reality.
Okay, I got some Twilight Zone notes. I apologize. That's an insult. Drink a lot. No, but like fucking New Year's. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about Twilight Zone now. I've been drinking a lot, but so fucking New Year's Day, they always, or New Year's Eve, one of the New Year's Day.
Oh, the marathon.
They do a fucking Twilight Zone marathon, and I remembered at the last minute, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay home on New Year's Day and watch Twilight Zone. It was really cool.
That's not a story. Finley, give him a grade. Grade him on that story. Right now.
Well, stories require a beginning and a middle and an end, and I'm not sure which part that was.
That had a beginning, a middle, and an end. I was home. I remembered that Twilight Zone was on. I turned the TV on. I watched Twilight Zone, and then it was over. Beginning, middle, end.
Well, was it over when you said it was over, or did you finish the whole?
No,
marathon.
I only watched the same episode that I seem to see every year. Like I always
the one
say,
that couldn't hear or see or
no. I always say I'm gonna watch this. Like, Twilight Zone marathon is on, and every time I turn it on, it's the episode where like all the soldiers are like frozen, and there's a guy like, it's like black magic. Everyone's frozen, and then I never see any episode after that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Wow, there's going to be a lot of apologies going out to Finley. For this.
No, I think this is, that's not how that story began, or even where it goes, but it could, I suppose.
We've heard a real writer and we've heard a Slim writing right now. That's what we got.
Maybe I should rewrite it, and maybe suddenly he sees a light appear under the door.
Oh, How to Prepare Humans by Slim. Have you, Finley? Over the years, have you scrapped a lot of stories? Have you like started a lot and like not been able to finish, or just like kind of given up, like, or lost momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can speak for other writers, but I'm sure it's fairly common that you have what you think is the best idea in the world, and then you get a bit overexcited, and you might spend a whole night typing away, thinking this is fantastic, and then the next day you get confronted with that question. So what happens next? And that is that is kind of potentially the worst question to be asked.
Well, I always thought when I write, like, just going back to my dumb little thing that I write, for years I wouldn't drink. I would always make sure I wrote sober because I thought, that'd be the best. And the last few weeks I've started drinking while writing, and it's good. It's still good. I haven't noticed a difference. So, like, I was so scared because I always remember in acting class when I was younger, like, don't don't perform drunk, because it'll impair you. But writing, I'm like, I'm pretty good off of a glass of absinthe writing this shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've done both, but I have to say that when I've written things from start to finish, there's a certain energy or sort of a mania you get from not being drunk, from being sober, when you're sort of in that heady high of a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that's, for me anyway, if I was to go and have a drink, I would find that would kind of just kill off that momentum, because I'd probably want to just sit down on the couch and put on Netflix.
Yeah,
whereas,
I do agree on that. And I always thought and I am careful when I revise that I haven't used the same term or whatever too much. Like, I do get, even reading it tonight through, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to change that, or I just said that word in the last line, like, I'm not going to do that again. Like, so yeah, sometimes it is like you do miss things that you normally wouldn't.
Are you saying you change, like, your writing on the spot, like when we're reading it?
Sometimes, yeah, I did it tonight.
Wow.
At least twice tonight. I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but also on the other hand, if I send it out like that, I don't know. I could have a crappy, like, someone else's line done, but I'm usually pretty good. At that. Who are some of your favorite authors, Finley?
Well, I mean, I mentioned Jane Austen before, and I was going to say one of the things that, talking of great starts, I was thinking of an Australian writer, actually, whose name is Elliot Perlman, and he wrote a book back in the 90s called $3, which did pretty well, and then he wrote another book called 7 Types of Ambiguity. $3 was turned into a movie, but I think, again, here in Australia, so you might not have heard about it, but I remember when I read it, it was pretty influential. I mean, it was one of those stories that just got me at a particular time in my life. And it has a pretty cool opening too. So yeah, he would be one of my faves.
Cool.
I was just gonna say, so that was the thing that kind of inspired you to get into writing.
As in, like, try and write a whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there was one thing. I mean, one of the things that got me back into it, the whole idea, I guess, in recent years, was just reading a few books about writing. Things like Stephen King's On Writing, or Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, and just it sort of reconnected me with that feeling that creativity and writing gives you, which is one of the best things in the world.
So I'm interested, because my experience was, like, when I was a kid and in high school, I would write a lot, and my teachers would always be like, "Oh, you're gonna be a great writer one day." I'm not a great writer right now, but, like, that was always the thing. But I really had the same for writing, and then I just eventually was like, this isn't the thing for me. So did you, like, when you were in school or high school or whatever, you were writing a lot, and then, like, how did that go? Did you continue doing it, or did you fall off?
When I was at school, I did well in English classes, but I actually was a bit of a science and maths nerd, so being into sort of writing myself actually came later. But yeah, no, I was a pretty tragic science and maths nerd at school, believe it or not.
I did not do good at those. That was like, yeah. I don't know. They passed. I think they passed me because they liked me. Some of those teachers, like they were like, you made me laugh. You got a D. You got a D. But I did. I excelled in the English and classes like that. Finley, we are getting close to having to wrap this up, my friend, but it has been a blast talking to you. Where can everybody find you?
Okay, well, I've just got a website, which is finleycarraway.com, which is FinleyCarraway.com. Awesome. And from there, that's a blog. There's a bit of a blog, and if you search for the Middlevale Mystery on Amazon Kindle, it'll pop up. So
awesome! Thank you so much, Finley. Have a great rest of the night or morning. What is it over there? Is it afternoon?
It's lunchtime.
Okay, have a great lunch.
Enjoy your lunch.
No worries. Thanks very much, guys.
Eat some pastrami or something.
Eat some. What do you guys eat over there? Not pastrami. Tim Tams.
Buttered.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Buttered
Finley.
Oh my god.
Buttered Tim Tams. Have a good one, Finley.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.